Want to address a few small jobs on the Renault, just for the MOT. One is this side repeater is loose, and thankfully, because of the forum, I have a nice new replacement one. And this one has the proper little metal clips on the back. These are very easy to do, happily. And there is your bulb holder on the back, and you give that a twist, and it pops off. And you can see on the two here that this is the one that's on the van, and it is broken, and it hasn't got the metal spring clip, and that's why it's been flobbling about. Everything else on it's fine, but it doesn't function. Put the new one on, give it a twist, and then just put it in the hole. Yeah, I've got the lens upside down. There we are. And the reason I say that is there's locating pegs at the top here, so the text on the lens goes underneath, and that lines up with the wings. That is now nice and secure, and I know this bulb works, so that's an easy job off the list. I wasn't going to show doing any of this side because I have to do it all on the driver's side as well, but I just wanted to bring you in to show you a couple of things here. The cable ties, I don't know what these are doing, but I do know that this window winder here, you can see it's had the end chopped off. There should be two lots of splines, and these splines are completely trashed. Unfortunately, that means I can't wind the window down to take the mechanism out, which is what it says to do in the book. So I'm just cutting through these and hoping we're okay. There's a little bit cut out here, and in the paperwork for the car it does have a user manual for some aftermarket electric windows. I think that's why that's missing. I can't do anything about that right now, so I'm just going to hope that there's enough material here that it's not a problem, because, well, I can't do anything about it. And also, the other thing, which is very difficult to see, is up in there somewhere is the door lock, and I've already replaced that this side, so I now have a key that works this lock, which I'm very happy about. So yeah, I'm going to cut this and just see what I deal with. If there's anything of further interest on this side, I'll bring you back, but I will cover it in full when I do that side, but I need to turn the van round to do it. Well, that was a very unpleasant job, but I do know now why this one doesn't work. At least it's not just the splines are stripped, it snapped the cable, and by the look of things somebody has tried to repair it. Of course that hasn't worked. Yeah, so now it's just a case of refitting this one and trying not to break anything. It's not the nicest job, but at least I will say one good thing about this system. There's nothing to trap my fingers like there is with the scissor type, so that's a benefit. Happy days, it's all fixed and working again. This is the proper window winder handle that it should have, and that's the first time I've been able to do that on this van. I'm quite happy about that. The other really good thing is the lock now works. Before I had to go inside the van to open this door, now I don't. So I'm happy about that too. I'll go into more depth about how to do this on the other side. It is a little bit of a tricky one, bit of a weird one to do in some places and very easy in others. So I'm glad I've done this one. It's not really MOT vital, but it's something I wanted to get done, and now it is. Going to be really clever and park it back in that gap, but I can't see where the back of the van is because of the way the doors are. So I think I'll just move the Princess out of the way and do it properly. There we go, musical chairs. Doesn't sound too bad, to be honest. The exhaust's a bit naughty when you rev it, but the rest of the time, it's not too bad. I don't mind it. But now I've got it moved round, I can do that door, because it's a bit, there's not a lot of space this side. It's nice if we can throw the door all the way open to do it. And of course we can still get out with our bins, which is important. It's a little bit cold today, but not too bad. It's been a while since I did the passenger side, but we're going to do the window regulator and the lock on the driver's side. I do have a key for the driver's side lock, but I want them all matching, and I have a full set. These aren't too bad to remove. There is a bolt in here, which actually is missing. I have found it in the box, so that's good. And this all just pops off. I'll go a bit more in depth on this side than I did the other. I've done the passenger side, and that now works, which is great. And that helps me understand how this all goes together. I had a look in the box and I found the missing bolt, and that should be in there, but isn't. And the problem with this door is I can't open this window at all because the splines are just destroyed. I don't know what's happened there exactly, but that's well before I got it. Also, the end, like on the passenger side, is chopped off. It should be longer than that. To demonstrate, here's a new one, and you can see that's what the spline should look like, and that's what the one on the door looks like. These blanking plates here, I think these actually might be capacitive switches because they've got a connector on the back of them. I'm just using them as blanking plugs. This is because at some point in its life, this car did get electric windows, an aftermarket kit. I don't have a replacement door card, so we're just going to go with what I've got, and these will just fill in the holes. Just the same as we had on the passenger side there. It does mean if I want to put electric windows in this, I probably can. I probably won't though. First thing to do is get the trim removal tool and work our way around and get all these poppers out. And then we can see what's going on inside. I don't think this regulator's broken. I think this one actually works. I can move it with vice grips, but because of the state of that, yeah, I can't get a window winder on it. Just like on the passenger side, you can see it has been cut out here for the wiper motor or whatever was in here, but there's plenty of metal left, so I'm not worried. I can also see some more electrical tape on here, which suggests maybe this regulator is actually broken. We'll see when it comes off. There are 3 bolts, one here which holds this part, one here and one here, and that holds the vertical part of the mechanism. It's not a scissor type, it's a cable type. So it goes in the door like that, and they are handed. Usefully, the guy that sent me these put right side, left side on, so I knew which side to put them on the car. And yeah, the window rises on this block here, so as you crank here, it moves a toothed cable in here backwards and forwards, and that lifts and lowers your window. I think this trim might have been off before because it's slightly deformed on this edge, and that happens when you prise this out because this is, I think, rubber coated aluminium, so it's very, very easy to bend. And one of the problems with getting it out is the little corner trim here overlaps. So although in the instructions it doesn't say to, I would recommend popping this off carefully. It's just a push fit, and then you'll be able to get in there. On the van, the mirror is mounted on the door here, down on the main body, and on some of the cars it's actually mounted up here. So it might be slightly different if you don't have these mirrors, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, I did break one. This is always a risk with these. Just this bottom leg here. The others came out fine. It's always a risk when you're dealing with plastics this old, and I do think somebody's been in here before. But you have 3 little legs that push in. I'm pretty sure the metal part is supposed to stay behind, but this one obviously has snapped, so that's not happened. Just very, very old plastic and tiny metal trims. It's just one of those things. But the outside of it's okay. 2 pens will hold that on, no problem. But that means now I can get to this edge here that I couldn't before, because this needs to lift up. And if you've got that plastic trim on, you can't do it. Before we lift that seal off the door, the next stage is a little bit trickier for me. Normally, you'd put your window winder on and wind the window down, but I'm going to have to do it this way because we need the bolts for that fixing to line up with these 2 holes here, and then we'll have enough room to actually get everything out. Now that that's wound down and I can get to those 2 bolts, I've got enough room with the window down to get this seal off on both sides. I'm not removing the whole thing from the whole door, I'm just lifting the bottom edge so you can wiggle the glass. I'm not a fan of doing this bit. It's too easy to damage it. But I suspect because it looks like somebody's been here before, yeah, that's not putting up much of a fight, so that's good. Like I say, we're just sliding this piece out of the way. We're not taking it off the entire door, and that will just allow the glass to move back and forth. It means you can then actually get it out of the car. Just repeat that on the inside, and then we'll undo that glass. Inside one equally came off really, really easily, which is great. And the reason that you take these 2 off at the bottom is so that you've got movement in the glass. And that's really important for getting it out, because the gap you've got isn't very big. And that's what we'll do next. We'll pull the glass off, and yeah. These are a T30 socket, Torx fitting, and yeah, this has definitely been in at before. Somebody's been working on or fixing this at some point. That might make my life easier because things aren't going to be massively tight. With those 2 bolts removed, the glass should now just slide out the door. I hope. Yep, nice and easy. And that's the little lifter that is attached to the glass. And that will attach to the new regulator when we get that in. It's the same T30 for these other 3. So we've got these 2 here that do the vertical riser, and then 1 over here for the crank. Now we'll just try and get this out of here. The passenger side is a little bit awkward, so I don't know what to expect on this side. Looks like this is glued in up here. Need a little tappy tap. I don't think it's normally like that. You normally have to use a hammer. Okay. Oh yeah, someone's definitely been in here before. Wow. Yeah, that's all kinds of broken. I don't know what happened. All of this plastic sheathing that's covered in electrical tape, it's not glue, it's electrical tape, is repairing breaks in this. So that's probably part of the reason this didn't work and the thing was all messed up. Now on the top, to make it easier to get out, there's a guide hook there, so that just keeps this sheath in place and allows the whole mechanism to work. I know I keep disappearing off camera, it's a really weird place for me to sit and show with this, but bear with me. But yeah, if you feed that out of that little guide, it makes this whole regulator easier to get out of this door. One thing I'm not fitting is a moisture membrane. There's no evidence on this door that it ever had one, and looking at the design of it, I don't think it really needs one. I think it's okay. There's all this, well, what do they call it? Dum-dum? Like a sticky putty thing all around the edge of the plastic door card. And that seems to be that the door card is working as the moisture membrane with this tape. I've got some of this. I think that's a job for another day though, maybe when I get some nicer door cards for the van, if I keep it that long. Right, everything's out. Next job then is to get the new regulator in. It's not a bad job this, providing everything aligns when I put it back together. One thing I wasn't 100% sure of with the mechanism is there's no grease on it as standard. I've just put a little smear where the slider goes up and down, but not where the toothed cable goes. I think that's okay. I don't want to put too much on because it might gum things up. I couldn't find any information one way or the other whether or not you're supposed to grease this, so I'm just playing it safe. If I need to get in and add some in the future, it's not that difficult as you've seen. Now the challenge of getting everything back in again. Right, not too bad. It gets a bit tight in this area here. There's not much depth, but there's enough flex in the metal of the car. And then you line up these two little plastic tabs here. It's a bit easier when you haven't got all these sharp edges where somebody's cut everything out. And that locks that. I've got my little guide in place. I have grease all over my hands, which is great. put this first bolt in loose, just while I get everything lined up. Now, if you're left-handed, you'll probably find this side easier. I found the passenger side a lot easier to do. I'm right-handed. Yeah, it's just a little bit awkward to get everything lined up. I'm using the marks in the paint from the previous fitting of everything. It worked really well on the passenger side to guide where everything goes, so I'm hoping it works as well on this side. I've almost got this exactly aligned. There's two slotted holes on here, and that's where the bolts go through for the glass, so I just need to wind this up a little bit. There we go. Oh, if you're wondering why I'm using the vice grips very carefully instead of the window winder, the window winders are quite hard to get off, so I don't want to get it stuck on there until the door's all together and I know it's working. Right, good, there we are. Another handy thing on this side is this little spot here is perfect for putting all your loose bolts into as you're working. So we're just going to put these two bolts in here, and then we'll check that the window goes up and down properly. One handy thing with these bolts is they have a little unthreaded bit, like the shank of the bolt has no threads on it. That's really good for finding where the bolt hole is and guiding everything in. Otherwise, I think this would be just about impossible. Right. I'm only doing those loose because now I want to wind it up and down a couple of times just to get everything seated. And hopefully we've got it right first try, but sometimes you don't. Well, that's all the way down, which I've never been able to do with this van. That's the first time I've had this window all the way down. And that's all the way up. I'd say that was job done. Yeah, I'll go through, just tighten everything up, and then I'll show you how to do the door lock, which is also actually surprisingly easy even with my massive hands. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to show you how to do this job because I can't get the camera in. You can just see right at the top corner there, that's where the door lock is. So this one's a bit tricky. You've got a clip there, that's your lock rod. So that's for that guy there. And then further back, you see that white clip, sort of in blurry in the middle of the shot. Oh, I am sorry about this. Camera really likes that spider web. I think it's that white clip down there is for the lock, which hides up in that recess in there. I'll have to bring you in and out as I do this one because it looks like I can't show you. You can barely see when you're doing it, let alone through a camera. It is a simple job, and that's good. It's nice and easy to do. It's just very, very fiddly, and there's not a lot of space in there, as you can see. Right, well, let's do the first bit and get the lock out. One lock. This is the brand new one. It has the little sticky out leg, and that is all there is to it. There's not a lot to these, which is great for me, makes this job easier. It's held into the door with a slide clip, which I shall pull out. And this is where, if you're left-handed, this is a bit easier. I'm not. Come on. Well, I say you just pull it out. I did on the other side. This side's being much more difficult. I'll be right back. Sometimes there's a bit of help in the actual design of the structure, and over the years I've learned a lot of these little weird random holes you see actually have a use. So, big screwdriver. You can't see where this is going at all because there's just no way. But if you pop that in there, you can get behind the tab that's holding this lock in, and then you lever it towards that direction. And it comes out like so. So that little slide clip is what's holding in the lock to the door. Not really sure why this one was putting up such a fight. Then now the lock's loose, I've got to figure out which one of these rod type things in there is the one I need to unlatch to get it out. Oh yeah, it's that blurry white one I showed you. And let's see. Oh, it's really hard to see this. Right, that little nub in there needs pushing off the rod because that locks it into the rod, and then we can get the lock out. And without dismantling the entire door mechanism, this is just going to be impossible to show you. I do apologise. There you go. You can just about see what I'm doing. So yeah, you get the screwdriver and just prise that off, and then you can disconnect the rod and pull the lock out the door. This one that I've just unhooked, you can see how the mechanism works now, is actually for the door handle. The one I need to disconnect is this one. And you push the little clip there and it unhooks from the rod. But I think I have to get the door handle one out of the way to get to this one anyway. It gives you some idea of how little space there is. Look how big my finger is in relation to all of this. Yeah, so we'll unclip that and then we can get the lock out. One lock mechanism out of the door. When it's in the door, it points that way. So this is to the door edge, and then the rod goes down to the mechanism. Not the most fun thing to do at all, but yeah. Now we'll get the new lock put in, get this threaded on. Yeah. I don't like this bit of it. But it's nice and easy. You just thread the rod through like that. And then that's ready to go back in. On the... Hello. It's Chloe. That's not my cat. She just visits. Yeah, so when you put this in, you just thread it through, like so, and push it home. And before I do that, you can just see, you know, it's shaped and there are locating pieces on here, so you can't really get it the wrong way, which is great. Also, it helps if I put the new one back in. This is the old one. I don't know why I've picked that up. New lock, and this is the shape in the door, and that lines up with some locating pegs on here. Drop that through there. Have a wiggle, and it's in. And then we slide that awkward clip back on, and also hook that little wire up, and then everything's sorted. All back together, door shut. You can't operate these locks with the door open, interestingly. At least not this one. But now, that works. I mean, it worked before, and we had this lovely original Renault key, which I don't have now. But I'll keep that with the lock that came out, because there's nothing wrong with the lock that was in here. I just wanted less keys. Just before I put the door card back on, this is what I mean about these switches. There's obviously electrical connections on the back here, but there's no switch in the conventional sense. So these, I think, are a capacitive switch, because they don't have any mechanical part in them. So I think you just touch it with your finger and then that gives you which direction you want. Unfortunately, I am missing a few of the push clips for this, and I don't have any of the right kind, so at some point I'll order some new ones, maybe. Let's pop this one in here. Final job. Put the proper window winder on. Wow, that's hard to do. That feels like more effort than it should be. The other side wasn't that hard. But it works. Maybe it's just a funny winder, this one. Ah. Yeah, it's just being a bit odd. I'm just going to play about with this and get it to work. There's probably something I'm missing. Maybe there's a slightly damaged spline inside this second-hand winder or something like that. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'm not sure what the deal was with this winder. It just pushed on fine as soon as I took it off. So, yeah. That works. I'm happy. And that's the first time that's worked since I got the van. That also means, importantly, everything that I know I need to do on the van before its MOT is now done. There's nothing else I'm aware of that needs fixing. So I guess that's going to be the next job, is get it booked in and see what it fails on. And then we'll have a whole new list of things to fix. Aren't project cars fun?